It is Tuesday afternoon. Solo guy here, live on YouTube if you're watching it live, or hopefully Tito's time, wherever you are in the world if you're not, or if you are. I saw in the comments somebody's got class coming up, so that's a different life they're living. But wherever you are, great to have you. If you're watching on the YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you are listening on the Haberman and Middlecoff podcast feed, you can leave us a review. Apple Podcast, 5 stars. Check it out there. I just got back from Santa Clara. I was just at Niners practice today. So I'm going to give you some guy football focus grades and jump into that. Plus a few other notes from around the league. Something I'm looking forward to on the college football schedule and a big piece of the future. I got a big future prediction here for college football. Get to a little later. But I want to start with just diving into what happened on Tuesday, and then we can jump to some other things. Before I get to anything, just a reminder, whether it's just me, whether John's here, whether you're alone, whether you're at the bar, whether you're hanging out at home, whether you're going a little boys trip this weekend, whether you're going on a girls trip this weekend, whether you're going on a date, whether you're not going on a date, whether your date just stood you up, no matter what, Tito's handmade vodka. That is the order. Tito's and water with a little lemon. A Tito's and the John Daly. That's the iced tea and lemonade. Or you can just go Tito's and just one of those things. On the golf course, keep it cool. Order it from the cart. Sidle up to the bar and say Tito's and soda. That's a great order. Or my personal favorite, a little Tito's and ginger beer. Tito's and ginger beer. I do like the Tito's in the bottle, but they've put them in a. I mean, the ginger beer in the bottle, but put them in a can now at Trader Joe's. But that's good. That's my personal favorite ginger beer. But no matter how you do it, that's how we do it here at Haberman and Middlecoff. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly. All right, so let's dive into a few things. And for those of you that missed it, if you're listening to the podcast and you want to know how I'm grading the quarterbacks, go check out the Monday morning Guy Football Focus show, GFF. It went up on Monday morning, and I actually show you the grades in my handwriting for Sunday's preseason game against the Raiders. I did it again for practice today, and I'll be showing you the grades on that in just a second. So, yeah, we can dive into that. But, I think there's I kind of hinted at it Monday for those on the YouTube, for those listening. I do think we have the potential of an interesting little dynamic that could develop for the 49ers at quarterback, depending on how Brock Purdy plays. And how Sam Darnold plays, depending how Sam Darnold, depending on what kind of opportunities he gets. Haberman, here's a comment. Haberman is going to say how wonderful Lance looked in practice yet again. I think it's hard to predict what I'm going to say about what happens in practice because I just say what happens. So you can't attach me to any narrative. Narrative free since 2023. Up in this piece. All right, here we go. PFF grades, GFF grades, Guy Football Focus. And I'm going to pull up my grades. Today, Brock Purdy was a 0. For those of you who are new to the scale, 0 is you do what is asked. You do what most quarterbacks would do. Those are the throws you make. You can go to 2 on the positive scale. You can go to -2 on the negative scale in increments of 5. So you get a plus 0.5. It's a good throw. As an example, the throw that Sam Darnold made in the preseason game to Ronnie Bell, if you guys saw that, that was a +1 throw. The interception that Trey Lance threw, that was a minus 1.5 interception in the end zone. And then there's other things just about in between. But let's go through Brock Purdy's day today. It was a 0 day. And the reason it was a 0 day today is because he made some bad throws, and he made some good throws, and he made some regular throws. Sometimes you can have, like Sam Darnold's had a lot of 0 days in Niners practice just by making 0 throws. But today, that wasn't the case for Brock. So if for those of you that are watching, you can see the work. For those of you listening, I'll just tell you briefly about it. But the headlines are that Brock threw what I'd call 2 turnover-worthy balls. We try to use the PFF scale just because they've got a big database. He threw 1 actual interception. He made 4 plus throws, so 2 bad throws, 4+ throws, and a bunch of 0 throws. 0 throws are good. 0 throws are considered. I consider that a good throw. It's just on the money. So you dump it down to Ayuk for 7 yards over the middle. You throw it to Juwan Jennings on a tunnel screen. You hit Ty Davis-Price in the flat. You get it to Ayuk over the middle. You throw a sideline throw to McCaffrey that he doesn't catch. It was incomplete, but it was a very tight window, tough throw. Put it only where your guy can get it. That's your 0 throws, okay? His interception, a -1.5 throw for Brock Purdy today, was probably a borderline pick 6 from Talanoa Hufanga. He was trying to get it to one of the tight ends, Troy Fumagalli. It was I'll paint the picture for you. Very shallow route over the middle, coming from right to left. So Brock is looking left. He tries to get it to Fumagalli and maybe baiting him a little bit. Hufanga trailing a little bit because certainly Hufanga can run with Fumagalli. So just kind of off his back hip as Brock tries to throw it straight, nothing underneath it. Maybe a hair behind, but it was, in terms of accuracy, pretty accurate. But it was a very tight window. It was a low reward, high risk throw. Hufanga reaches out with one hand, snags it, and he's gone. So that's a -1.5. Why is it -1.5? Low risk or low reward, high risk, and it's probably points. So -1.5 throw for Brock on that. He had another -1 throw. He hit Deommodore Lenoir like in the thigh. It bounced up. Debo made the catch. Good result, bad throw. And then he had 4 positive +0.5 throws, no +1 throws for Purdy today, but some nice rolling out one way, throwing it back the other way, stepping up against a blitz to hit Ayuk, hitting McCaffrey over the middle, kind of at the hash marks. He leapt, but in stride. And those were good throws for Brock today. All in all, that adds up to a 0 day. Next up, Trey Lance. Trey Lance had a +0.5 day today. And here's what happened. Had a nice little sideline throw to Latu. Now, Latu made the catch. That's been a question with him. It was a wide-ass open throw. A lot of times, some of these wide-ass open throws, WAOs, are 0 throws. But because this was a sideline throw, had to go a long way. Good throw. You know what? I did some bad math here because I gave him a throw that I shouldn't have, but let's see. No, I gave him a +1 on a sideline throw to Danny Gray. I think that's supposed to be Sam Darnold's throw, actually. Not ideal. Behind Latu, that was his negative throw on a slant quick. I'll have to review this. And then a +0.5 to Snead. Kind of scrambling. That was all. You know what? I got to redo this grade. I wrote a Sam Darnold throw there. So actually it's a 0. It's a 0 grade day for Lance. That +0.5 Snead throw there, this throw, that belongs to Darnold. Oops. I had to rush this to get live for the stream. So Darnold's day today, that means was a +1 today. A +1 for Darnold. A back shoulder Danny Gray deep ball, that was nice. And then the Willie Snead throw. So a good day for Darnold. A good day for Sam Darnold today. And it's part of the reason it's a good day for Darnold is because he's coming off a really good preseason game in which, from a Niner perspective, there are different conversations. One conversation is, could Trey Lance be a starting quarterback in the future? And the other conversation is right now on this team, what does that quarterback battle look like? That's number 2 spot. And I think it'd be hard to argue anything other than Darnold's ahead of him. And Darnold's the backup quarterback when we kind of hit this checkpoint coming out of that preseason game against the Raiders. So nothing changed in that regard today. That is the kind of the news out of the practice. Nothing changed there. But I think in the big picture, and I mentioned this in the live stream on Monday, but I'll say it for the podcast folks and those who missed it here on Tuesday, I do think there is a question about how Brock plays, Remember, Brock is established as the starting quarterback. Why? Because he played really good football in games last year when the games really mattered. And so when the season starts in Pittsburgh, there's going to be a spotlight on him. He's going to have to continue to play really good games. There are some guys, tier 1 quarterbacks, maybe even tier 2 quarterbacks, who get a lot of leash. You are the franchise quarterback. Patrick Mahomes has back-to-back weeks where he throws three interceptions. Nobody's talking about job security. Brock Purdy's not in that position, and rightfully so. He has earned the position he's in, but he has to keep playing that well to maintain it. And I think what makes it complicated is not Trey Lance at this point. What would potentially make Brock's position complicated is Darnold. If Darnold's next 2 preseason games continue on the path that he's on, and again, we'll see what happens with Trey. But if Sam continues to look like you can trust him, which was the bit right, you think about his 55 games did not look trustworthy. His 1 preseason game against guys like a ZZ Hearn. Okay, it's not exactly Patrick Surtain Jr. or senior. Asante Samuel Jr. or senior. I know they're not all juniors and senior. One might be a 2, PS2, but that'll be a different standard for him. But the point is, there are a number of factors here with Sam. 1, Kyle's liked him for a while. 2, he's on a 1-year contract. He's going to be a free agent after this year. 3, they sign him on the first day of free agency. I don't think, while they believe in Brock, while they profess to believe in Brock, while I believe that they believe in Brock, and Brock's going to get every opportunity, I don't think he's on the longest leash in the world, in part because Darnold is there. If Darnold plays well for the next several weeks, if he looks good in the preseason, then that'll be my opinion as we enter the season. If Darnold doesn't look good, or if he loses some of that equity, then, the leash gets a little bit longer. But I do think it's, in my opinion, Darnold is lurking. He's not on Purdy's heels. And Brock has control over this thing based on how he plays. As long as he plays well, if they're winning, then it doesn't come up. But I do think Sam is, based on what we saw in practice so far, what we saw in the preseason game, I think he's lurking. Could Trey one day become their starting quarterback? Yes, he could. You know what I've said for this entire competition? I would not be interested right now in being on another team. Does Trey need to play? Yes. And so from that perspective, you could argue, man, if you need to play, you need to be on another team. But I think one thing we've seen consistently here, Niners quarterbacks, if you're in the vicinity, if you're in the facility, and if you're in the meeting room, there's a chance you play. And so I think patience here, while it might be hard because he spent 2 years kind of being patient, could result in an opportunity. So let's just see. But I do think he is not lurking to me with any urgency to Brock, whereas I just think Sam might be. We got to keep open to the possibility that he might be. Chad on the stream says Sam has never put together a stretch like Purdy has. No way Darnold's even close. Sam, that's correct. Sam has not. I mean, what Purdy did last year was one of the most impressive stretches of rookie football that anybody has ever seen in the history of the National Football League. And I don't even think he has to continue to play that level of efficient football in order to maintain his job. But he does have to play well. If he plays well, then it's not close. If he doesn't play well, and then he doesn't play well, and then he doesn't play well, my point is not that Sam is chasing him down. Sam is in the distant rear view. But when you watch Darnold, you see some of the qualities that Kyle would like so far. When I watched him in Carolina, when I went to the tape and when you check the stats, you don't see him. He doesn't get the ball out quickly. He's not on time. He throws interceptions. All bad. That preseason game and these practices, though, he's looked more like kind of what Kyle wants. Now, he hasn't played a real NFL game against a real team. He hasn't played 8 weeks in a row yet for Kyle Shanahan, where you can have some highs, but then in the end, who you are is who you are. So that's why I say, and I said it yesterday, this is a later conversation, but I wanted to share it this week because it crossed my mind watching him and watching Brock that things can change really quickly, and your standing as the starting quarterback can change really quickly. And to me, the simplest way to put it is you earn the job by playing well. You got to keep the job by playing well, and Brock's got to continue to play well. So that's what you got to watch for there. Couple other things just to note. I think the Jake Moody situation, Jake Moody hit several field goals today, long field goals, missed one. The one he missed was a pull. Um, they did something today that I have not seen them do in almost every Niner practice I've attended. I think I've not attended 2, maybe 3 of training camp, but is kick a short field goal. If they did it, I can't quite remember it. But that's kick a short field goal for Jake Moody. I'm just pulling up his final numbers here from practice today, if I can find them real quick. But they did that today, and he crushed the ball. So I don't know if that was an intentional kind of confidence booster, or if it just so happened that's where the drive kind of ended, and so that's where they kicked it from. But I thought that was a nice little touch. Again, don't know if that was intentional by Shanahan or not, but it happened. It was a little odd. The kicking game this weekend is going to be interesting because it's an outdoor game for Jake Moody, and I don't know how many people are paying attention to other training camps around the league, but for those of you that follow the rest of the league, one of the stories in the NFL this week is the Broncos kicking situation. Brett Maher missed two kicks in their preseason game last week, and he is on the hot seat. They have another kicker in Denver who they cut because he got hurt, so they actually don't have another kicker in Denver. And Robbie Gould's name obviously came up this weekend as it relates to the 49ers, but Robbie Gould is a candidate for the Denver Broncos at this point. I think it's actually a great fit for him. Kicking at elevation would be fantastic for Robbie Gould. He's out on the live tour or something like that right now. But Brett Maher he is on the hot seat, Denver's kicker. So we'll see this week. He missed 2 more kicks in practice. He missed 2 more kicks in practice today. Jake Moody's numbers today, 5 of 6, 59, 38, 56, 53, and 43 were his makes. His miss was a long one, 61-yard miss. You don't really fall apart over 61-yard misses. So you want to see him get an opportunity early and make it. I was talking to Josh Dubow from the Associated Press, always has great intel. And apparently his research, which goes back to 2017, is this. Since 2017, only 3 kickers have missed 2 field goals in a preseason game. And all of those kickers have not finished the season or have not been on the team the next year. Jake Elliott, who turned into a good kicker, Daniel Carlson, who turned into a good kicker, and Roberto Aguayo, who did not turn into a good kicker. So today was Jake Moody's day. It was just Jake Moody's day. And I think he kicked well. I mean, if you're misses 61 and you make 5 others, then I think you're in okay shape. Couple things this week that are going to matter. The 49ers got to find another left tackle, and they got to find more depth in the interior. I was listening to some of the SiriusXM NFL radio coverage. They were at Broncos camp today, so that's why I got all this Bronco intel. Mike McGlinchey sprained his knee the other day. It doesn't sound like McGlinchey will be back in time to play against the 49ers this week, I don't think. Jonas Griffith, the linebacker, went on IR a couple of weeks ago. Josie Jewell, the linebacker, I think will be back. He got poked in the eye last week, but they've had a couple injuries, and not getting to see McGlinchey might be an issue. So not might be an issue. It's going to be a little bit of a disappointment if he doesn't play. You want to see him. So Trent Williams practiced today. He's out there. Colton McKivitz is out there. But I don't think they feel very good about their offensive linemen after that Raiders game, given that everybody we saw start the game was a backup offensive lineman, and it wasn't good. And you're not expecting a ton from some of those guys. Jason Poe is not at the top of the list of guys that they need, but John Feliciano is. He's your your swing guard. Jalen Moore is. That wasn't great. So, there's been some talk. Is Manning from Hawaii, is he going to be a guy that can be their left tackle? How do you find a swing left tackle right now? Matt Pryor, that didn't go great on Sunday. So that's kind of something to watch, and that'll be one of the big storylines this weekend with that. One thing I didn't expect to become a storyline, but definitely became a storyline, was Isaiah Oliver, who didn't play great in the preseason game as well. It was his nickelback spot in trouble. We talked last week about Quantrez Knight, he's made plays in practice. Today he had they did a little 2-on-2 today. He had a pick in 2-on-2 on a underthrow. Purdy had a wobbly underthrow in 2-on-2. And I grade the team drills, but I do keep an eye on some of the 1-on-1s or the 2-on-2 type, 2 receivers, 2 DBs, just to identify, just something to keep an eye on. And it was about a 30-yard kind of over the top sideline ball. And it was, for those of you that golf, Purdy's reaction is the way you react when you chunk the ball. As soon as it came out of his hands, you could hear like, oh, like that kind of reaction, because it came out wobbly. He knew it was an underthrow the second he threw it. It was not underthrow and a wobble on a 30-yard throw. And then Quantrez had a nice PBU kind of, Juwan Jennings does a good job creating space for himself when he's running routes, especially in areas that are small, tight, right? And now in a 2-on-2 drill, it's not as tight, but it's going to be. And Quantrez Knight stayed with him and was able to break up a pass. Contested ball, Juwan does well there. So he looked good. Isaiah Oliver had a rep where he hung with Debo, but running with Debo, is not necessarily the litmus test. So I think we'll be definitely watching him. And then, there's a linebacker depth issue right now where, because Oren Burks is out and because Dre Greenlaw is out, Jalen Graham and D Winters get some opportunities. One guy who got some reps with the Niners first team today, I'm not going to do a whole practice recap today, but Curtis Robinson, and he made a play in the preseason game the other day. So maybe that's a guy that can rise up the depth chart. But Demetrius Flanagan Fowles and Marcelino McCrary Ball, those are kind of in that spot there. Robert Beal was back at practice today. But it'll be interesting to see, does Denver try to pound the rock? And can the Niners stop it? Because they were not able to plug too much when it came to the Raiders' desire to run the ball. So anyway, there was some practice stuff today. Anything else? Just some other basics. If you got any questions on the YouTube, we can get to some of those. Ronnie Bell actually, I was complimenting Quantrez Knight. Ronnie Bell made a really nice play in 1-on-1s against Quantrez Knight. And I think Quantrez Knight thought he was going to jump a route, and maybe because that was off balance, but I would love to ask him, like, hey, let's look at this rep. Ronnie Bell just shook him. It was gone. So it was a very impressive rep for Ronnie Bell. Oh, Danny Gray, need to highlight. I mentioned Sam Darnold had a plus throw. And I'm going to have to reassess these grades because I was rushing to get on the air and wrote something down in the wrong spot. So I think in the end, Sam was plus 1.5 and Trey was even. Sam made a plus sideline throw again today. The Niners have struggled to connect on go balls throughout training camp. I've been harping on it. Darnold hit Ronnie Bell for one in the game that was as good as it's looked. Today he hit Danny Gray on one. And what was good about it, there was a debate going on, back shoulder kind of throw, because in part, I think maybe the safety was coming over. I was debating it with Josh Dubow, but it was a really good throw from Sam. He does not put a lot of air under the ball. He puts it on a line, and it was a good adjustment. Danny Gray made the catch and kind of, spun the ball down, reacted. It felt to me like Danny Gray was saying, finally I made that play. Finally, I got a ball I could make that play on. And I did it. So, I've talked a little bit about it's felt like there's been some frustration there. And maybe he kind of, was able to break through on that. So anyway, that's just a few of the things from today. The Niners are going to practice again on Wednesday. They'll practice again on Thursday, and I'm going to pop out there for those. And John is traveling back home from Tahoe today, and so he'll be back this week. We'll do a show together and talk through some more of this stuff. I think one of the things to get into this week will be, Dan Orlovsky saying that he doesn't think Trey can play in this offense. I've seen a few of you. Yeah, I have not watched the JT O'Sullivan breakdown, and I guess there was another. Green Glasswell says JT did a great film breakdown of Lance versus the Raiders. And somebody in the chat for these solo shows, it's a little harder for me to keep track of everything you guys are saying here. But I guess there was another. Was it an ESPN? Was it an Acho film breakdown? Which Acho? About it. So no, I did not watch either one of those, but I'll try and check them out. Yeah, I love watching people who who dive into the tape. So we'll try to dive in the tape. Although I feel like I feel like I had a pretty good sense of Wally Lamas says JT said wide ass open 30 times. What? He said wide ass open 30 times? I'm going to need some evidence that he's been saying that for a long time. Although I can't own that, I guess. I'm glad it's spreading. I'd like to take credit for that. Wide ass open throws. Dan says, how's Elijah Mitchell look? Working out on the side. I mean, he's in a sleeveless tee, jacked, stretching things out. So you got to think he's close. No Kittle for the Niners today. Yeah. They run the ball. I mean, Ty Davis Price, every time you watch him in practice, man, he runs the ball hard. I'll say that for him. Absolutely. All right. So I'm going to get, maybe I do need to go watch that and see, do I get credited on Wide Ass Open in that video? Shady McCoy was in that. So was that ESPN or was that Fox? Which is that? What was that? We'll try and find. I'm excited about this. Oh, it was FS1. Thank you. We are 10 days away. 10 days away from a college football. I love college football. I don't know how many of you guys love college football. 10 days away from college football. USC San Jose State is a week from Thursday. So maybe 11 days. But when that starts, it will be the beginning of the future. And the future is cloudy when it comes to college football. And I did want to share, here we got a Go Cougs in the chat. There's always a Go Cougs. I did want to share something that I thought was really interesting. This was the athletics director at Nebraska. There's a guy named Trev Alberts who worked at ESPN. He was at he played high-level college football, worked at ESPN. He's now the athletics director at Nebraska. And he said something a couple of days ago. He said, I believe the next go-round of college football realignment will be far more disruptive than anything we're currently engaged in, and we need to prepare ourselves mentally for that. We're moving to a top 35, 40 brands being a part of something. And if you look at football in isolation, I think you can get back to doing something much more intelligent, thinking around the rest of sports, which should be regionally based. So he's saying he thinks that we're going to go to 35 or 40 college football programs, and then they will be in their own sport, basically, their own thing, and their volleyball team, their baseball team, their basketball teams. They will all compete in whatever other leagues they're in, right? And I think that, there's that in and of itself is not anything groundbreaking. A lot of people have suggested that and think that that's where it's going. I think that's where it's going. We might have some time because the SEC's television deal goes for another 6 years. And the SEC TV deal goes for 8 years. The Big Ten deal goes for 6 years. So maybe they could find a way to break things down before then. But here's quickly what I think it means. Right now, if you're going to get to 35 or 40 college football programs, understand this. The Big Ten has 18 programs. The SEC has 16. That's 32. So if we're going to go to 40, there's 32. You only get 8 more. Notre Dame is 33. They're not getting left out. Miami, Clemson, Florida State is 36. Now you're down to like 4 spots. When he says we have to mentally prepare ourselves for what the next round is going to look like, I think part of what he's saying is people are going to get cut out. That hasn't happened before. Washington State and Oregon State got left behind with Cal and Stanford, and hopefully we'll see how that thing shakes out. But no one's been kicked out of a league yet. The question is Rutgers, Vanderbilt, when everybody else at the Big Ten and SEC levels elevate, and then they pick a few others to come with them. And maybe they look at the Big 12, they're like, Utah, you're coming. Are they kicking people out to make sure that only the ones who pull their weight get to come? And that will be kind of the big, we had this big bang, the extinction of one league, it appears, with the Pac-12. But what he's saying is that's not even the worst one yet. There's going to be another one that's going to be even bigger, and it's going to be even more painful, and we have to mentally prepare for that one. And I think that's what he's saying, is the next one's going to be us kicking people out. Because if you're going to get to 40 and you're going to take the 32, 36, and you're going to add like 4, is that really as strong as it could be, right? If you've got Vanderbilt in instead of Utah, that's not as strong as it could be. If you've got Rutgers in instead of Clemson, that's definitely not as strong as it can be. You're going to have to take some of those from the ACC, which means what happens to some of those ACC and Big 12 schools? There is clearly already a tier 2 in college football because of the amount of money that the Big Ten and the SEC make from their television rights deal. It is twice or more than twice what the Big 12 is getting. And the Big 12 and the ACC, they're clearly on the next tier. And then they're making, you understand, the Big 12 schools are making like 5 or 6 times in annual media rights revenue what the Mountain West schools are making. Right now, they are already on tier 3, even though you have the Power 5 and the Group of 5 kind of separated out. So I just wanted to share, that's out there. I think that's what he's talking about. And I think people always kind of casually say, oh, yeah, we're going to super conferences without really thinking about what the numbers mean. And when you say 35 to 40, you are cutting half of what is Power 5 football, or 35% of what is Power 5 football, out. And that's what it looks like. It means kicking people out. It means elevating it. And, what's kind of sad for the Pac-12 is in the end, it probably means that those non-football sports all kind of go back to something regional. So you could have had a world where a lot of your league, maybe, right? I don't know. It's Arizona State. Are they going to be able to play their way? It's really critical right now if you are in the Big 12 and in the ACC to try and play your way into that. And I think it's critical if you're in the Big 10 and the SEC and you're like Northwestern, or you are Missouri, right? Or Mississippi State, or whoever. I think it's really important that you put yourself in position to be in that last group. College football realignment never stops. It hasn't stopped in the history of the sport. But it does feel like that thing that you get to, that 35 to 4, that super conference, will be when that level of football stops. And then there will be a bunch of other, that next level, there'll be a bunch of other movement around. So, that's where the movement will continue, but it's going to get messy again, is what he's saying. And absolutely it will. And yeah, it'll be like professional football. And maybe finally then they'll have a commissioner. Here's a comment on YouTube. The question is, maybe the swing tackle isn't currently on the team. Maybe not, but go look at the available swing tackle market. It's the tackle pretty probably needs to be on this team right now. It is, as the internet likes to say, problematic. There are not a lot of options out there. And this group that you've assembled should be able to handle it. But they did not look like they could handle it. Now, part of it might be if you are the swing tackle playing with 4 other starters, is your job a little easier? Yeah, your job's a little easier, right? If you are Matt Pryor and you're playing next to Burford, Brendel, Banks, and Williams, then yeah, your job's a little easier. Jalen Moore, your job's a little easier, but yeah, that Ilm Manning has been feels like he's picking up a little momentum. Michael says we need a 2024-25 Big 12 preview. Here's one for you. Utah, perennially underrated in the Pac-12, not picked to win the league this year. If you saw the preseason top 25 that came out the other day, 5 Pac-12 teams in the top 18, which is more top 18 teams in this preseason poll than the SEC, than the Big 10, than the ACC, than the Big 12, because Oregon State was 18th. But Washington is ranked ahead of Utah. So my prediction is that Utah is going to go from underrated in the Pac-12 consistently, even though they're kind of properly rated, but they always get a little slept on, that whole thing, to like picked. I think Utah is going to get picked to win the Big 12 in 2024. That's your early prediction. Cougs win the Pac this year. That would be something. There's going to be a lot of kind of bad blood games in the Pac-12 this year. And I think Washington State's going to play in most of them, or in a lot of them. There was a question here about, somebody said there was a throw that that somebody made when he was sacked on in practice today. Yeah, like there are plays that are total give ups, and if everybody kind of gives up, I don't count it. But if you keep it going and you don't just check it down, and it kind of feels like everybody's still playing, then I grade it. Joey, where did this go? Joey said Kinlaw was dreadful. Yeah, I didn't. There was a lot that looked good in training camp. I didn't think it looked great against the Raiders. Seemed to get moved off the ball pretty consistently. Plugged a few holes, but seemed to get moved more than you would have liked. Eric says, always hating on Utah. I know. It's just my question with Utah, if you want a college football thought on them, is Cal Whittingham has kind of been, people have asked him a lot lately, the last few years, if he's going to retire. And I don't think you can now. You're about to go into the Big 12. It's critical you keep this thing rolling. And in 2024, the college football playoff expansion is going to occur. There are some meetings going on. I think at the end of this month, the committee is going to decide, are they going to stick with this 6+6 format that they've plotted, which is the top 6 ranked conference champs, which guarantees 2 group of 5. For those of you that don't follow college football, that's the next, not the Power 5, not your Big 10 SECs, but the next group. Or are they going to switch to something else? And, if there's no Pac-12, then there's no Power 5, there's Power 4. If they go to Power 4, they're not going to stick with 6+6 because that's going to guarantee 2 group of 5 leagues like the Mountain West and the AAC, right? They're not going to want that. So I think they'll probably switch to like a 5+7, which is the top 5 ranked conference champs, so you'll guarantee one group of 5, and then the top 7 ranked non-champs, so basically at-large teams get in. I think that's kind of where it ends up, but that is yet to be decided. The other thing I was thinking before we're not going to dive into the preseason game yet, but I think the Raiders are going to be better this year. I think Denver's going to be better this year, and this is the second week in a row that the Niners are going to play a team in a preseason game that feels like they got something to prove. And I know there was so much made of like, oh, the Raiders are game planning for this. The Raiders are game planning for this. And that even got mocked a little bit. But I don't think there's any question that Mark Davis probably made it clear, guys, we're going to have a bunch of, I've seen the ticket sales. We're going to have a bunch of Niner fans here. Please just win this game. It's not going to mean much to win it, but it's not going to be fun to lose it. And I think, Denver, who I got to figure if Sean Payton was a player on the team, Sean Payton would probably be you'd have to figure top 3 cap hit for most of the teams in the NFL. Sean Payton's making $18 million this year. So they have a lot invested, and they've got a ton invested. Let's just see real quick in Russell Wilson, obviously. And the reports on Russell have been good. Russell's lost like 18 pounds. So Sean Payton would be the 4th highest cap hit on the Denver Broncos this year. On the 49ers, Sean Payton would be number 4. Not counting whatever Bosa is allegedly, hopefully, about to get. So he doesn't. I think he's going to take. They're going to try. Greg Williams is not his DC again. Kill the head and the body will die. Johnny says, where do you think Fresno State lands with all this realignment? Do you think they'll stay in the Mountain West? I mean, I do right now. I think the best thing you can do for insulating yourself from losing a league is adding teams. And the Big 12, it's about to be a 16-team league. The Big 10 is going to be the first league to 18 teams when they had Oregon and Washington. So it's the blueprint. The Big 12. What's unique about the Big 10 is that Fox agreed to kick in more money when they added Oregon and Washington, meaning the existing Big 10 teams did not have to cut up their pie any smaller for them. The deals, it's been reported, the deals that ESPN do have stipulations that kick the contract up in value if you add teams. The deals that Fox does with leagues do not have those stipulations. So if you as a league add teams, you either have to cut up more pieces of your pie, or Fox has to go, yeah, okay, that's worth it. We're going to give you more money. The Big 12 has deals with ESPN or Fox, but Fox isn't going to do that for Fresno State or the other teams that are in the Mountain West right now. The Mountain West is a good league. The Mountain West with San Diego State and Boise State and Fresno State, and the time zones. We'll see what happens if they add, or if Oregon State and Washington State end up there. Then that's a good league. That's a fun league. That's good football for your 7 p.m. Pacific kicks, and I think that's fun. I think that's an okay place to be. It doesn't get you to tier 1 when they go to 35 or 40 teams one day, whatever that is. But I don't think they're getting there anyway. So you got to just make sure you can stay near tier 2. And I think they're doing that. So, but Fresno State has got to upgrade its football facility badly. And for $5 million a year in television rights, you got to raise that money somewhere else. Robbie asks, I see debate on Twitter. Is it your opinion that Brock is the best quarterback on the field? Good question. Maybe. Yes, based on last year. He has played better games consistently than the other two guys. So I get my answer to that has to be yes. When I watch him in practice, I'm not positive based on practice that how much better than Sam Darnold he is. But when I watch the games and then I watch Sam Darnold's games, he was significantly better than Sam Darnold in the games. So that's a good question. If I had to answer right now, I would say yes. And so, there's no downside answering right now. Yes. But as I said earlier in this show, and as I said yesterday, I don't think it's such a significant gap that he gets to just keep his job no matter how it goes. He has to keep proving it. He has proven that he deserves to be the starting quarterback, in my opinion, and in most people's opinions. And he deserves to keep doing that. Now, that can change. Ilm Manning gave up 0 pressures on 17 pass plays. Yeah. He was good. You can't measure Purdy's heart, and he's fueled by doubt. I was talking to a former NFL quarterback the other day before the preseason game because I was going through some of my grading and just kind of asking him, like, what do you think of this? Do you think this is fair or whatever? And he's like, when the games are just such a different animal than practices. It is so different. The pressure that comes with a game versus a practice. And Brock performed in games. So, yeah, this is earned. It's absolutely earned by him. There was one other, I wish I could search these comments. Somebody asked something here a second ago. Nobody has asked this yet. I do think my guess, and it's just a guess. My guess is Brock Purdy does play this week. That's my guess. I think he needs to play a little bit in a game. And I think at some point he will play in a preseason game, either this week or next week against the Chargers. So I don't know if it is going to be this week. He made a lot of throws today, a lot more throws than Trey or Sam. Brandon Allen didn't get a rep. He, I think, needs that speed. I don't want his first game to be against the Pittsburgh Steelers if I'm Kyle. So I don't know if that means both games, but I do think we'll see him. And my guess, this is his first week of full-on practice. As long as he gets through, he threw a lot of balls today. So let's just make sure he's good again tomorrow. Is that he plays? Justin asks, I'm not sure if you brought this up yet, but with the Pac-12 going away, how will that affect your broadcasting duties? Fabulous question. I don't have the answer to that. We'll see. Right now, my schedule for this football season, thanks for asking, by the way, is studio shows for the Pac-12 network, post-game shows almost every Saturday night, and then some games. So the first week of the college football season, the second week of the college football season, I'll be doing a show that I've done the last couple years called Pac-12 After Dark. It's the post-game show. I'll do a game for the Pac-12 network week 3, and then I'll be back in their studio. You're not supposed to be marking this on your calendar, but just to give you an idea. The end of September, I'll do a game. I'll do some games for FS1 as well. So if you care, ask, and I'll happily tell you. I'll promote those appearances. But so this year will continue as kind of normal. The FS1 games, I would imagine, will be Mountain West games, but we'll see. I don't know what those games are yet. Those get assigned usually like a month out or 3 weeks out or 2 weeks out sometimes. So we'll see. And that's been kind of my schedule the last like 3 years is a mix of those things. And that's the plan now, but fine question. And I appreciate your interest. Was looking for a Lombardi style spreadsheet. I can give you a Lombardi style spreadsheet. No Notre Dame games. I don't know if ASU's on there, but we'll see. All right. I think that was everything I had for you guys today. There will be more tomorrow. I'll give you the grades again tomorrow, and I'll correct. I was thinking about, I run down these grades of these guys from practice, and really, it's not relevant to anybody, a +0 or a +0.5 or a -0.5 or whatever. It's just a way for me to come back and go, okay, is how it felt, what it looked like. And what I would tell you today is good day for Sam Darnold. That would be my quarterback headline from today. Good day for Sam Darnold. If those of you, well, I guess if you're watching this live, or if you're not watching it live, hit that like button. I know it means you got to be signed into YouTube, but at this point, who is not signed into YouTube? I mean, you signed into YouTube, you get everything tailored. You get your subscriptions, you get the algorithm throwing you stuff that you like. The watch history for me is the best part of being signed into YouTube, right? Is that I can see all the things. What was that thing I saw 3 weeks ago? I can find it in a heartbeat. So sign into YouTube. If you're signed into YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Helps the channel grow. We appreciate that. I appreciate that. And, helps us sell stuff, helps us do ad deals. Tito's likes it. If you're drinking a Tito, send us a photo of it. So thanks for all that. If you're listening to the podcast, you can always watch just by clicking on the link to the YouTube in the podcast description. And if you want to take any of this stuff on the go, you can just, for your YouTubers, the link to the podcast is in the description. So it's all just a click away. All of the review stuff goes through Apple. So if you're on Spotify or whatever, that's great too. But the Apple podcast reviews are the ones that seem to make a difference. But if you're on Spotify, by all means, or whatever you're on, hit that 5-star there as well. I think they have the same 5-star system on Spotify. All right. On that note, thanks for hanging, everybody. Talk to you again on Wednesday.